Government spending more of your money to make life easier for criminals. Now, if that sounds wrong to you, you're not alone. Corrections spending has become the second fastest growing area of state budgets, trailing only Medicaid. And conservatives are known for being tough on crime, but our next guest says we must also be tough on criminal justice spending. There are better ways to spend our tax dollars. Grover Norquist is best known for his tax-cutting advocacy, so it's kind of interesting. He has a message on fighting crime. So with all this focus, Grover, on taxes right now, I would have thought you'd have no time for anything else. How'd you get involved in this?
Well, it's been going on for a number of years. Conservatives are beginning to understand that just as national defense is a legitimate function of government, and we need to take a look and make sure we don't waste money there. Right. So criminal justice and prisons are a legitimate function of government, and we need to look at them seriously. And for many years, I'm from Massachusetts, where we had the William Horton case and others. Conservative position used to be lock them up, and that was as much of a conversation as we had. We now need to really think about what is the most cost-effective way to keep crime down, to have a free and open society, and not bankrupt ourselves.
Well, hold on a second, because I want to know where the money is being spent. I mean, if it's just being spent because there are more criminals that need to be locked up, that's one thing. But if it's being spent for weight rooms for criminals or more television sets for criminals or something like that, that's when I get mad.
Well, there's a whole collection of questions about how much is being spent, needs to be spent. A lot of times judges come in and require all sorts of spending that voters don't know anything about. The other question is just locking somebody up, even without fancy frills, is expensive. Which criminals can be on parole safely? Which ones can't? Some people need to be in prison. Some people shouldn't be let out. Others, we'd rather have them working and paying restitution. Interestingly, the state of Texas, not exactly my home state of Massachusetts, Texas has been taking the lead on figuring out that they don't need to put as many people in prison in order to keep violent crime down. They've been saving money and dropping
But,
crime.
I just want to hold on a second, because we remember what Rudy Giuliani did in New York. We who live in New York remember how he turned this crime situation around. Something called the broken window theory was you don't let the small crimes go unattended. That is, you do put the small criminals behind bars, because if you don't, they eventually become the bigger criminals.
Well, the other question you have, and Hawaii has been innovative here, and that is when somebody breaks parole, instead of locking them back up for the next 3 years, they get you immediately and put you in prison for a week or a weekend or a short period of time. The certainty of the punishment sometimes has a greater deterrent effect than a 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 100 chance of a longer sentence. So there are a number of different ways to make sure that you discipline criminals and dissuade people from making crimes without spending a great deal of money.
By the way, it sounds as though what you're leaning towards is taking some of the discretion away from judges. That is, being very specific about you do this crime and you pay this sentence. When judges have this discretion, very often that's when you see the turnstile justice.
Well, there's a very interesting question here. How do you decide how many people should be in prison and for how long without having the sort of liberal approach, which has been to not put enough people or anybody in prison? And how do you make sure that we are tough on crime, but also looking at the bottom line? How do we make this more effective? What crimes should people be in prison for? What crimes should they be out working and paying restitution? What can you do with ankle bracelets to make sure you know where people on parole and probation are on a day-to-day basis? There's an entire collection at rightoncrime.com is the website, rightoncrime.com. A lot of conservative leaders are beginning to look at these reforms.
It's an interesting issue, and it's certainly, if you live in a big city like I do, it's an important question. Grover Norquist, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.